Only remained vivid in the accounts of Panamanian and other international historians, but it has also inspired works of literature in several languages. And for example, this is a descendant of Prestan who put out this book in 1910, La Presencia de Pedro Prestan, and I took these ink and penning drawings from this book. Sonia Ellers S. Prestan. So the family, even though, more than 100 years have passed, there's still, this saga still continues. As we move through the chronological sequence of black migrations to the Isthmus, we get to the 1904-1914 period, when the United States recruited thousands of black West Indians for the construction of the Panama Canal. There were already West Indians in Panama, for at least 5,000 Jamaicans had migrated to the Isthmus for the building of the railroad between 1880 and 1885. For the French construction of the canal also, there were mostly Jamaicans, and so that was between 1880 and 1889. Now, unfortunately, the failure of the French canal caused many of these workers to return to Jamaica in worse conditions than they had left, and this put a strain on the budget of the state. So when it came time to recruit for the American canal, the Jamaican governmental authorities said, well, any worker that leaves Jamaica, they must pay a head tax, and this is documented by Velma Newton in her book, The Silver Man. So, rather than pay the head tax to the Jamaican government, the American recruiters simply went to Barbados, and the American records show that 20,000 of the workers for the canal were recruited from Barbados versus 47 from Jamaica. We don't know how many Jamaicans went to Barbados and came in as Barbadians. But the Jamaican culture and Barbadian culture are very strong here, and I think the Jamaican culture is even stronger. So the play that I have written from Barbados to Panama, I published it in 1999, and I tell the story of 3 Barbadian youth who migrated to Panama to work on the canal. Now, it was my purpose to transmit the humanity of these canal diggers, that there weren't only a number, 20,000 workers, but I wanted people to feel the pain that they felt when they left their homelands, the families they left behind, the grief they suffered when their people died, the experiences they had, and love, and some of the practices. They went to church, and then coming out of church, they would go to see a Obia woman to see what is going to be their fate here in this land. And there's one scene there where, man, you're coming out to church and you're going to go and see Obia woman. What wrong with you? I wanted to bring out all these cultural and experiential features in the book, because it was I felt that there was an absence of this type of information in Panama. And because we are bilingual, the second half of the 20th century, most West Indian Panamanians spoke Spanish as their first language. So even though I wanted to be faithful to the language of the people of the time, they spoke Caribbean English, but I also wanted the younger people to understand what was happening. So the story is told at 2 levels. It's told in the contemporary scenes where Manuelita is writing a composition, and she wants to tell about her great-grandparents, and so she tells the story in Spanish. And her interactions are in Spanish in the classroom and with her family. But then there are flashbacks that show the great-grandparents, and they speak Caribbean English. Because even, or the community of people that I wanted to project this play to, the people who would really understand it are those who spoke English. And the young people, we're just getting into it. It turns out that 2 out of the 3 die in the construction of the canal. It's almost that proportion that of deaths that we suffered. And towards the end, we have the surviving member of this trio expressing that, okay, this is Panama, we're in Panama. He says, James and George were my best friends. We knew each other from the time we were children in Barbados. We came to Panama to look for a better life. They never lived long enough to see their dreams come true. Today, I thank God that I have lived long enough to pay the passage for my mother and my brothers and sister to come from Barbados to live with me here in Panama. Today, I thank God that He has sent me Leah, this lovely Martinican woman that I married today. And there again, I injected a mixed marriage, because in the early days when the Jamaicans and the Barbadians came here, the Barbadians thought they were superior and they didn't want to mix, and the Jamaicans thought they were superior and they didn't want to mix. But in the end, they ended up mixing. I remember my parents are of Jamaican heritage. They were born here, but their parents were Jamaicans, and they always tell me the story that when my mother tells the story when she took my father to meet her folks, they always started out, well, Mr. Lowe, and where are you from? So my father always said, if I'd said I was Bajan, I don't know what they would have said. But here in Panama, those prejudices were eliminated, and we have all kinds of mixtures. And here we have the Barbadian man getting married to a Martinican woman. So he says, from now on, we're only going to think about making it here in Panama. No use dreaming about going back to Barbados. We're living in Panama now. Our children are going to be born in this place. We have to make it here, not only for James and George. We have to make a good life here for all our children. Too many of our people are dying in this land. We have to make sure that their sacrifice will not be in vain. Tells how the Canal Zone governor reacts, because it's really the Canal Zone government who squashed the strike. He said, and with his usual arrogance, Chester Harding, the Canal Zone governor, 55 days into the decade declared, we run the show here. We are gold road people. We are pure like California's plentiful gold. We are pure gold like our triumphs and our glories. Chester Harding finally won out. President Lefebvre got paid because without warning, he outlawed all public gatherings. That is usually the governmental authorities tend to side with the Canal Zone authorities. Naturally, this prevented the strike leaders from pursuing their agenda with full force. And recognizing the new reality, William Preston Stout made his final declaration, bringing to an end this glorious feat of the Silver Road workers. Indignant at the insult, many Silver Road blacks requested repatriation rather than returning to work under the loathsome Canal Zone system. And that's among this book of poems entitled Street Smart. Next we get